Do you mind talking a little bit about how this running relates to your sobriety and how maybe you came to that point or how they intersected?
Absolutely. How does the running is a big piece of my recovery. It's not something I depend on for my recovery. When I say recovery, I mean recovery from alcohol and drug abuse, or addiction rather. Running can't be the answer to my recovery because I'm gonna get injured, I'm gonna get hurt. The running might not always be there, but it is good therapy. And I find that at these races of ultra long distances, there are many people like me there. So I have many friends in recovery, I have many friends in long running. And then if you want to think of the Venn diagram, I have some really great friends of that place where those two things intersect. And there are tons of people where those two things intersect. It seems as if we talked about the question, what's wrong with you, that you would run 100 miles. I find that there is a lot of people who deal with mental illness, with addiction.
All right, so it's 100 miles roughly, and how long do you have to run 100 miles?
So that's a good question. That describes what kind of race you're running, because each race has a cutoff time period. We talked about Barkley. I don't know, you've got a lot of hours to finish Barkley, right? Because it's a really difficult race. Another incredibly difficult race in the US is Hard Rock. I think you get 48 hours to finish Hard Rock. It's in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado with some 14,000 foot type stuff. Superior, which is one of the harder races, has a 38-hour cutoff. Some easier races may have like a 24-hour cutoff, meaning you have that much time to complete the race. So you can kind of get a sense of the difficulty of the course by how long you're allowed to run it. Excuse me.
So if you're running 100 miles, I'm imagining there's a lot of misery involved with some of that.
There is. It's a different kind of misery. You really need to consider the difference between discomfort and pain if you want to get through it, I think. Because discomfort is something that's very acceptable and temporary. And so I think usually the miserable moments have come about because of weather. When I had been running at the Zumbro 100 for about 24 hours and it was maybe 35 degrees and this horrible wind, rain onslaught came out of the sky with hail and lightning and I ended up dropping from that race. What do they call it when you have you can't stop shaking?
Hypothermia?
Hypothermia, thank you, is the word. I was pretty blue and my arms were just shaking and I kind of associate real miserable times with the weather, heat, extreme heat maybe, or that kind of cold, or elevation in the Bighorn Mountains. When I got too high of an elevation, I just kept throwing up and couldn't stop. When you find the body's limits is where the misery piece is. And usually that, quite often that can be weather related, because I mean you when the weather says you're gonna stop now,